I think I'd have two answers to that. I think one of them's kind of a nerdy answer, because I knew you were going to ask this, and I was starting. There was a quote that came up in my mind. I think it was like a Huberman quote, Andrew Huberman, where he talks about going for a walk early in the morning, and it's something like forward ambulation or something like that. But essentially, the idea was like getting movement in your eyes early on so that your brain is processing stuff. And before I joined Uncaged, I work from home a lot. So I'm in the house. I don't see a lot of shit go. Can I cuss on this? I don't even
Yeah,
know.
dude.
Shit going on. Um, and just getting in the group, I was having, even on the smaller calls where you have 15 to 20 people or upwards to 50 to 100 people talking about stuff they got going on for their business, for their health, for their relationships. It was really helpful to be like, oh, I'm not out at sea alone. I got some other people that I can get feedback off of. And yeah, I mean, just the brainstorming, I guess, really is the biggest thing.
Mm.
And then the vulnerability, dog, that part is huge. Like, I don't come from a background of, hey, let's talk about it. I come from a background of let's move on. Like, what's understood don't need to be explained. And I think, as I've realized through the group, is without a lot of clear, concise communication, stuff isn't understood the way I thought it was. And just seeing other dudes have conversations in the group highlighted areas in my life or business or whatever that I needed to have conversations with other people or just myself. And I was like, that was super helpful. Like, that was almost invaluable to a point.
I love it, bro. No, those are two huge takeaways. I mean, why don't you go ahead and tell the people listening like who you are and what you do, and let's just hop into this conversation, man. I'm excited to have you on.
Yeah. So I'm Luke Dyer. I mean, I'm an agent, real estate agent out of DFW. Been doing it 6 years, man, and love it. Can't really can't really complain. Like, the transformation it caused, I did it straight out of college, and the person I've become in the 6 years is insane to think about.
That's awesome, bro. Love DFW, man. Always looking for an excuse to come back there. Um, no, man. So you said something in the beginning stages of the call, obviously, that I wanted to like circle back on, which is like just talking about like getting like your brain acclimated to things that are happening. And one of the biggest things that Uncaged focuses on is like the law of averages and like being mindful of who you surround yourself with and like a lot of these like relatively cliche sayings. However, it's mind blowing to your point to see that like when we talk about growth and we talk about like being a achiever and a high performer, the thought process behind such little efficiency hacks and even just like 1% swing in the right direction can be monumental, especially when you start looking at like the compounding growth effect of it. And so it's cool to see you talk about, I like the concept of like, just getting your body moving, getting your mind started, like really kind of evolving the process on like how our days start, right? How we start the day is going to set the pace for how our day goes. So like what are some of the things that like you've seen, and this could be whether it's something you did learn in Uncaged or something that maybe you want to help guys in Uncaged notice, like what's been some of the like success hacks from you that you've seen in your day-to-day life of like starting things out like on the right foot and in a positive note.
Immediately, it kind of goes into, like you said, the cliche sayings and stuff. I think all of us have an idea of what we need to do. Like, we can sit here at the desk and be like, man, I don't know where to start. I don't, you know where to start. Like, you do. Like, if your heart's telling you where to start, you're just avoiding it. And like, something I don't remember when I learned this lesson was, but I was sitting in my office one day and I kept thinking back of all the teachers that I had in school, because they were all, you're smart, you just don't apply yourself, blah blah blah. And I was like, what does that even mean? Like, what, you're just saying that. And then one day I was like, there's no way 8 teachers and 5 parents were all just saying that. Like, there was something behind hearing the same message from multiple sources. And I was just choosing to take that as, that's just cliche. That's what they're supposed to say, blah, blah, blah. I still have to figure something. And then I was like, oh, as I'm older, I'm like, I could have applied myself. Yeah, you're right. That makes sense. I get it now. So I think just hearing the message I need to hear and not running from it. And when you have it coming from different sources inside Uncaged, inside whatever educational shit I'm watching, from my broker, from my mind, because like I said, at the end of the day, I know what I need to be doing. And if I hear you say it at 2 weeks later, it's hammering in that nail. And it's like I should probably stop running from that.
I like it. And there's two things that kind of popped up for me. And the first is I don't know like how political we want to get in this conversation or whatever the case is,
It's
but
your
like
show, brother.
yeah, right, no doubt. But it's just it's comical to me for you to like say that like all these teachers were telling you this about you're not applying yourself. And for me, from an extreme ownership standpoint, um, as a teacher or parent, I feel like that should have been a glowing sign of like, hey, Luke doesn't really fucking like this shit, right? Like there is something that he would absolutely apply himself to if it were, something that he was interested in. And so like, not to say, school is bad, but I definitely believe that we miss opportunities with kids in, lower education classes where of course they're fucking bored because they don't give a fuck about it. But how can we find something that they're passionate about that they do take seriously? Because, in Uncaged, one of the things that I'm a big advocate of is at some point in building a business or a career or whatever the fuck you want to call it, even if you're a W-2, at some point climbing up the corporate ladder, you should ultimately be doing something that you're good at and that you love doing. Like, I think that that's like peak success is to be able to wake up every day and do something you enjoy doing. And quite frankly, you're good at it. Like no man wants to wake up every day and do something they're fucking bad at. And so like hearing you talk about, your career in real estate, like it sounds like you did find something that you cared about and something that you're good at. And like, so like what has been like that trigger? Cause like, 6 years out of schooling is not that long. So like, you're almost out of college or, the education system as long as you were in. So like, what was that transitional moment where you were like, fuck, this is something that I like doing? And like, how did that like journey for Luke, where you're like, fuck, this is something I can apply myself to? And then what did that do for you specifically?
It was almost exactly how you just worded it. And like, I think the best way I can describe it is legitimately, I know we've been saying this word a lot already, but it was cliche happenstance. Like, I was still in college. I think I can almost pinpoint the day. Like, I was in my dorm room. I found this dude, Willie, on Twitter. He was a wholesaler. He was on Twitter just flipping home, not even flipping homes, flipping the contracts on homes. And I remember sitting there going, I have no justification in my mind for why I'm about to write 2,000 words on the Aztec Empire. Like, and like, as I'm older now, I can see where it's like, okay, here's your task, do your task by this deadline, and that can show me you can complete a task. And I can see but dog, I don't care about the Aztec Empire, and I sure as hell don't care about turning in the paper by midnight. Like, there was a big disconnect there. And so, like you said, I started following this dude. I even think I started watching fucking $1 Million Listing New York, watching Ryan Serhant walk around and do fake real estate deals on TV. And I was like, hold on, you mean I can learn this, apply it almost immediately if I can get good at it. And then obviously there were selfish reasons. I can apply it and make money, but also there was a level of, okay, if I'm going to do this and if people are going to trust me with what is most of the times the largest purchase they will ever make, in a lot of debt. I'm going to have to become somebody that is really trustworthy of that decision. And at that point, I was 17 when I got on that campus, wasn't really close to that. But I was like, okay, if I'm going to dive into this, it's going to force me to become a little bit of a different person and someone that is that capable of helping someone through that process and being trustworthy and reliable. And so it was kind of all of that mixed together. I was like, I can make money. I'm going to learn how to be a better person. And yeah, and honestly, it came with like a little bit of the competitive nature of like that I was getting from baseball. It was like, obviously, we're talking about not being a good student. I was not a great employee either. Like, I'm just really not. Having that freedom for good or worse is kind of what I was thriving on in the beginning for sure. Like obviously I'm much more strict with my time now, but in the beginning it was, you mean I can wake up at 9 a.m. or noon and no one's gonna say nothing? But at the end of the month, the bank account was gonna say something.
Yeah.
So it was a level of competitiveness, not even against anybody else, but against myself that really fed on too.
No, man, that's really cool. And something else, it's kind of a separate subject, but you had brought it up earlier and I wrote the note down when you were talking about like, being able to come to the guys in Uncaged or being able to hear something from one of us. And you're like, all right, man, like if enough people are saying it, there's got to be some validity there. Is this is also like been a really cool thing. Like, again, no disrespect to teachers. I think they're incredible human beings. But like a lot of times I see this like difference in people when someone is appointed that role in your life to like mentor you or guide you, uh, teach you about what the Aztecs or, whatever. Like this is someone who is literally hired to educate you in this. Whereas the guys in them caged, that's like the choice. Like that is family by choice, right? Like you chose to have these people in your life to help guide you and mentor you, right? Whether that's people that are ahead of the game in you or a few steps behind you, whatever. But the cool thing is like these are people that weren't self-appointed. Like you appointed these people as men in your life that you could lean on and trust the words that are coming out of their mouth for specific things. And my favorite thing about that um, is we had this conversation at one of the retreats in Arizona is you're not going to come to like one of us and ask some question knowing like we're going to give you a real raw answer. Like it may not be what you want to hear, but it 100% will be something that you need to hear. And so I think that's what's been really cool about watching not just yourself, but every man that's joined Uncaged is like, even if it upsets you, you're like, fuck. A, that pisses me off because that wasn't fun to hear. But B, who does that piss me off at? It might piss me off at myself because I knew they were going to give me this fucking answer. And I know deep down they're fucking right. And here the fuck we are. What's like, have you had any of those moments? Like, what's that like? Just having that opportunity of people that you've appointed as being like that role in your life. And that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a mentor based. It could be peer or even a mentee. But like what's that like a level of confidence been able to give you knowing that like you've got guys in your corner, literally in your fucking back pocket that you can call on at any time and they're gonna fucking tell you exactly what you need to hear.
It really is something special, and that's where I've tried to say thank you to you a couple of times for putting this kind of environment together, because I can't say I've taken advantage of it, because like I said, I'm working through coming from the we don't talk about it background, like, but at the same time I do know for a fact, even if I haven't reached out a couple more than a handful of times to these dudes, I could probably rattle off 6 names right now, minimum, off the top of my head without thinking about it, that I know I could message, or even I could probably fucking call those guys and they would answer and give me the answers, like you said, that I don't want to hear. But like we were talking about earlier, I know that's the right answer because I think That's why I'm asking the question. I needed somebody else to give me that answer.
Yeah.
And yeah, having seven brains, eight brains, 10 brains is better than one. And once you have that kind of what I don't even know the word for it, confirmation that you're what you're thinking is right, and even better little tweaks from the other guys, like you're already 10 steps ahead.
No, it's a good point too, right? And like that is a good preface. Like, by no means does anyone in Uncaged think that they fucking know it all and that like their information is just like so unobtainable that they're the only person in the world that has it and that everyone needs them. Is Paul, one of our guys, he's in the Dominion group, is he's
Love
got
Paul.
yeah, Paul's savage. And he's got not only does he have his personal coaches, but he has his professional coaches too inside the group. And you know, obviously for someone like myself, like I just want these guys to be the men that hung the moon, right? They have all the answers and XYZ, and it's just this it's great to give people information that they otherwise would not have access to. However, I've learned through watching some of these guys that as equally valuable as that is, it's also equally valuable to what you just said, which is maybe they didn't necessarily give you some like earth shattering piece of information, but they just confirmed that what you're doing is correct. And like as a man, like it feels fucking good. Again, this ain't no like yes man shit, but like a real genuine like, hey man, I'm either struggling with this or hey bro, like I'm real excited and I'm working on this or I'm launching this or this is what we're about to create. And like having someone look down that you trust and validate that like, hey bro, like congrats. Like you dotted all your I's, you crossed all your T's. Like this is fucking good work. It gives you another level of confidence to move forward. And arguably in Uncaged, one of the big things that we talk about is like building the plane as we fly it. Like, you know, if we sit around and wait around for everything to be perfect, nothing would ever get launched. Nothing that would ever happen. And so, like, in those moments where you are building that plane as you fly it, to have someone else be able to inspect it and be like, this motherfucker can take off. It's just really fucking cool to have access to that. And I think what you said to that was just monumental for sure.
Yeah, it's been, and even not even the confirmation of doing good work, but like you said earlier too, just the shit you need to hear. Like I'm saying it to myself in my head, and whether I brought up the question or they brought it up themselves in a call, I can just hear another guy going through a similar thing, coming to the same outcome that I'm thinking about in my mind. And it's like, there's that thing again. If I'm hearing the same message from multiple places, let's run with this. And that also, I think I've seen it create stronger like brotherhoods in the group where you got, holy shit, homeboys going through the same thing. That sounds real similar. We could maybe talk about this and find some help in each other. And
Yeah.
that's been huge too.
No, that's cool. And then, like, to circle back on something you said earlier, like, if you don't mind, like, let's kind of unpack. Like, you said that, like, you come from a life, and by all means, I think all of us did, of like, we don't talk about it, like, show it to me, don't tell it to me, kind of stuff. Like, what's that like kind of journey been like for you? Like you said, you're still kind of on that and like learning that it's okay to ask for help or it's okay to seek advice or it's okay to admit maybe you don't fucking have it all together or whatever the case is. Like, what's been like one of the most like monumental lesson for you in this journey of you like realizing that like, hey man, like sometimes it is okay to reach out or ask for some help or whatever the case is. Like, you got any advice or opinions or even just part of the story on like what that's been like for you?
Think the biggest, probably most valuable takeaway from, like you said, I'm still going through it, but being more transparent, having better conversations, speaking my mind more clearly, like in certain situations, it's less stressful. There's more freedom. And hey, to be honest. Like we're making way more progress, way more quickly. That's where I would say that. Like shit's happening way faster than if I'm just stirring around in my head trying to figure out a solution without involving the other people involved in having those conversations, just trying to find workarounds. No, we can go hammer this nail and we can move on. Like that's been the biggest. I've spent so much time, I guess, spinning wheels trying to figure out the best solution, the least confrontational way to go about handling a certain client or objection or something. When we can handle it, we can air it out, and I'll still be able to come to a really good solution through that that actually works better for both of us because we aired it out and we can. So yeah, the clearness, I guess.
No, I like it. Yeah, and that's one of the things like I've been big on is and that's what I love about the group is like there's either someone that's been through it, is going through it, or will go through it. Like, so like if you like have that understanding and like you have access to these guys that, if we believe that there's, two forms of assets in this world that really I don't want to say really matter, but like you have time and you have money. Like these are the things that like you can earn things like this, like information from, is if you have access to these guys that can save you time, one of your most valuable assets, arguably your most valuable, like why would we not take advantage of it? And that's, I think about this a lot, right? And when I had transitioned or before I had transitioned from my career in marketing, um, as I was building my previous organization, there was a pill that I had to swallow that was very hard for me to swallow. My ego was just too in the way, and I had too much identity built around being a good marketer. That's what I was good at. And there was a moment, there was a fork in the road, and I had to make a decision. Do I want to be a good marketer or do I want to be a good business owner? And I had to choose one of those paths to go down. Like I couldn't be both. And so when I finally decided to be a good business owner, which required me to let go of a few tasks that I had, enjoyed or was good at, or whatever the case was, it was that moment like I had to let my ego down and decide what truly was more important to me. And it's the same thing with men who, you've got access to guys who have either been through it, are going through it, or will go through it. People that you can trust, people that you can lean on, and people that will tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Like you have access to this. And we hold on so much to that ego where it's like, what really fucking matters? Like to your point, like, what's it going to hurt being vulnerable or transparent? Maybe it's something that you deserve to get your ass chewed out on, but irregardless, it corrects that behavior and puts you down a path that will get you further faster. At the end of the day, why is that not a positive thing? Like, yeah, it might sting a little to get your ego bruised up, but what are we comparing egos for? The ego should be to succeed, right? The ego should be to solve your problems. The ego should be to build your dream life. So at the end of the day, if I have to take a step backwards, on my ego to be able to take 3 steps forward with my ego in the future, why is that not a very commonly praised attribute? Because I mean, dude, we see it all the time. Like you said, like sometimes we just don't want to admit that someone else might have the um the answers already, or like we want to earn our stripes and do shit the hard way and prove we're a bad motherfucker. But at the end of the day, is being a bad motherfucker not the one that like, gets there sooner? Like, I joke about it all the time, with some of my mentors, and I forgot who brought it up, but it was on one of the calls. I'm like, it's a very, it sounds very egotistical to say this, but like I should pass my mentors up. Like my mentors should want that, right? Like people that I'm mentoring, like I want them to pass me up. That means I did my job as a mentor, right? And so like I see some of my mentors who've accomplished things that, 55, 60, 65 years old. Like I'm now on a mission to accomplish those same things at 45, 50, at 55, right? Why? Because I have the cheat sheet. I have the blueprints. Like the path has already been laid out. I just got to follow it. And so it's cool to hear you talk about that because like for me, at the end of the day, what truly matters. And for me, the way I sum it all up, is achieving your dream life. Everyone's dream life is going to look different. I don't know if that's financial freedom, freedom of location, uh, you know, freedom of financial freedom, whatever that is to you, freedom of time. Um, whether you live in a mansion and have the cool cars, or you're not locked down at all, and you can bounce from city to city, continent to continent, country to country, whatever. Um, but like you should have a pretty clear picture of what that dream life looks like. And at the end of the day, like success to me is living that, like getting there, achieving that level of success, whatever that looks like. And so for me, it's like fuck the ego. I'm just trying to get there in the next 5, 10, 15 years and live a life worth living.
I think it's funny because that's somehow a hard realization to come to. It's hard to wake up to that when you're in it, that realizing your ego is the thing in the way. But I think it was Howard. I heard on a call say it. He's something about like a 30,000 foot view, removing yourself from the current situation and examining it from a 30,000 foot view and being able to say, okay, if this wasn't me, if this was somebody else, what would they need to do? What then the answer comes in so quick. Remove the ego that is keeping you from doing that one little task, then you're off and rolling. And so yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, a lot of times, unfortunately, we wrap our own emotions up in some of that decision making, and that's why I'm so big on the 30-day challenge, specifically the whiteboard scenario. Is like, I'm looking at mine right now. It's like I almost pulled a trigger on an investment yesterday. It ended up not being the right fit, but like it's almost 12 months ahead of or 10 months ahead of when I'm supposed to, but my whiteboard says that it's a yes. My mind was like, oh, it's a no, like it's bad timing, this, that, whatever. But that cheat sheet says it's a yes. So, like, I had to remove the emotion out of it and have like a real factual data driven, analytically based decision to make. And it was just cool to see like how that, to your point, like that progress and just myself personally, right? Like not to brag, but like, to get to that point where you can remove some of the ego and the emotion and be able to make decisions based on true data has been monumental for me. And I think, you know, I like to think about the future, right? Like I do my visualizations and I'll do 5 minutes of it'll be my past, thinking about where from the past to where we are today and like, appreciating those moments, and then spending 5 minutes thinking about where we are currently to what the future holds. And like being able to do that and like see that like this is something that is obtainable. It keeps me focused on the day-to-day grind. Cause like you said, dude, when you're in the fucking trenches, it's hard to pull yourself out of that mentally and not make quick, irrational, easy decisions, versus like being truly committed and, convicted about the life that you're building. Like I said, my whiteboard I'm looking at, so I got a 5-year plan, not a 10-year, not a 20, not a 30. Like, motherfucker, I'm trying to move. I'm trying to make shit happen. I want to live my dream life I want to be in my dream life longer than it took me to build it. Right. So no, man, I'm fucking stoked. And I think that that's a huge takeaway for anyone listening is like being able to identify the fact that you've got to take yourself out of that egotistical thought process, especially if you want to build anything worth fucking having.
I think ideally you have at least a couple homeboys that you've expressed what you're working on or working towards to. that are able to catch you when you start slipping and be like, hey, motherfucker, what are you doing? This isn't adding up.
Mhm.
So I think that's a big thing that I've had through Uncaged too, is help me stop slipping, because there were a couple months where you disappear for a little bit, distractions pop in, and you start getting messages like, where the fuck you been?
Yeah.
Like, what are you working on? And it's like, all right, we're back. Calm down.
Yeah, baby. I love it. No, man, that's really cool. Yeah, no, for sure, dude. Like, sometimes our actions speak louder than our words, obviously. So, it's cool to have people that'll call you out on that bullshit sometimes. Well, bro, like I've enjoyed chopping it up with you. I want to be respectful of your time. Is there, I know you've spent, your time here with us. Is there anything we can do for you to pay you back for the time you spent here with us today?
Keep doing what you've been doing, dog. Like I said, the value comes for me through seeing other people just doing their shit. So I know I'm not out at sea alone. And that's pretty much it. So keep doing your shit, dude.
Hell yeah, man. We can't stop now, brother. We just getting started, it feels like. Well, Luke, man, I appreciate you. Obviously, if you're listening, if you ever got any real estate in the DFW area, hit my boy up. Can't find him, reach out to me. We'll get you connected. But other than that, man, I appreciate you, Luke. For everyone else listening, we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.